Welcome to Season 2 of the Empower to Heal podcast. I'm your host, Dina Tipsheraney, and I'm so excited to take you on a journey through the ups and downs of motherhood. Together, we are going to learn, prepare for, and unearth all things motherhood, because I believe that exposure and awareness can lead to empowerment. So buckle up for an unfiltered, raw, and insightful journey. Motherhood is a beautiful journey, but it can also be overwhelming. Do you often find yourself feeling isolated, struggling to find balance, and yearning for a sense of identity beyond mom? Trust me, you're not alone. Join the Empowered Mamas Club, where you'll discover a supportive community of like-minded mothers. Gain valuable skills to navigate those highs and lows of motherhood, reclaim your sense of self, and become the engaged and present mom that you desire so that you can create cherished moments with your little ones. It's time to prioritize your well-being and rediscover the joy in motherhood. Click the link in the show notes and join us in the Empowered Mamas Club today. Hello and welcome back to the Empower to Heal podcast. Okay, last time we were on the pod, we talked about how perinatal mood and anxiety disorders impact people who have given birth and their partners. I shared the statistic with you about the increase in maternal mortality rates. We talked about how 1 in 5 people who have given birth experience perinatal mood and anxiety disorders, and how about 1 in 10 partners experience these. Today, I want to go into depth around what are perinatal mood and anxiety disorders. What are some things that you can look out for? How do you know if you're experiencing them? When can they be diagnosed? If you're interested in learning more about this, then stay connected to this pod because we're going to be talking about this in depth for the next few weeks as well. So why is it so important that we talk about perinatal mood and anxiety disorders? Because so many of us experience these, including myself. When I had my son, I struggled with postpartum anxiety, bouts of depression, and obsessive compulsive intrusive thoughts. I could not control them. They would just come into my mind, and they were really difficult to get rid of. And I was not alone in these experiences, even though I felt completely isolated. I felt like my brain was broken. I felt like nobody could understand what I was saying or going through, and I felt afraid to talk about it. Because mental health disorders are taboo in our culture and community. And they really shouldn't be, because the majority of us have had struggles with our mental health at one point in our life, or likely will have struggles with our mental health. And so let's normalize that these experiences happen. Let's normalize that we are human having human experiences. In my own journey with perinatal mental health, I struggled significantly to even become aware of what I was experiencing. I was in denial. I thought, well, this is just motherhood. Of course I'm more anxious. I'm a mom now. I just birthed my child. Of course I feel like things are out of my control. I'm trying to figure this out. There is a stage of motherhood that is just trying to figure it out. None of us know completely what we're doing. We're just doing our best with the tools that we have. We're doing our best with what we know. Sometimes, though, these experiences can go a little far. For me, the thing that became overwhelming was my obsessive compulsive intrusive thoughts. These thoughts were words and images that flooded my brain that I couldn't control, and they were terrible. They made me feel like a bad mom. I wondered why my brain would think such terrible things. And it made me second guess, if I shared this out loud, what would people think about me? The reality is you are not your thoughts. You are not your thoughts. You can't control your thoughts. Thoughts come and thoughts go. They do not define you. But once we realize that we're having these thoughts, we don't want them. And if we're not able to make them stop, if they kind of just take control, there's things you can do to receive support in ways that you can ask for help. Perinatal mental health, oftentimes people don't know what this means. So I'm going to break it down for you. Perinatal is the season of pregnancy and the postpartum season. So we're talking about mental health struggles all throughout the gestational period of growing your baby inside you to the year following childbirth. This is clinically what we call the perinatal season. I'm here to tell you that the postpartum season, which we call the first year following childbirth, extends far beyond that. I know personally, I still have moments where I question what is this? I will always be postpartum. I will always be postpartum, post-birth. I will always be post-birth because I gave birth, right? So that's a silly thing to put a timeline on. But the struggles that we experience are often heightened more in the seasons of life where our little ones are more dependent upon us. Maybe they can't communicate yet. You have to read their cues to meet their needs. They need support emotionally, like navigating life, regulating their emotions. They need nurturing to support them in understanding how to move through a day and all the big things that happen, how to navigate transitions, how to say goodbye, understanding relationships, what are safe relationships, all of these pieces of parenting that come into play where we're really hands on, we're really intentionally supporting our little ones in developing. These are things that are taxing for us often. They can be taxing for us, I should say. And when we're aware of the pressure that this puts on us and we allow ourselves grace to move through this, we can ease some of the pressure buildup of the responsibility of always being our child's like emotion regulator with them, co-regulating with them. But sometimes we just feel the pressure of this ongoing, especially if our life has this demand poured upon us from all angles. I know in today's society, many of us can't afford to stay home with our little ones, and many of us can't afford to work and send our little ones to daycare. We're kind of in this like, what do we do? How do we lean on our community, our society to help us in this season of life? And when we're facing these immense pressures, it adds layers and components to our struggles in our mental health journey. So the perinatal mental health, when I say that, it refers really to the season of pregnancy and the year following. But you might identify with some of these struggles beyond as you're in these thick pieces of parenthood. Additionally, I want to break down what perinatal mood and anxiety disorders mean and why they're so important to talk about and why they're so important to treat. I know the statistic around saving moms' lives lands. That hits home for many of us. But the need for supporting people in the perinatal season who are having these struggles is not just the value of the mom's life, which should be enough, but oftentimes in today's society it's not. But it's the well-being of our child, because the number one predictive factor of our child's mental health and wellness is their primary caregiver's mental health and wellness. So if we have healthy caregivers who have been able to be supported and move through their depression and their anxiety, who are able to emotionally regulate themselves, be present, connect, bond, respond to their child's cues. If you have a parent who can do that, they're going to raise a child who's going to be able to learn how to emotionally regulate, trust that their needs are going to be met, be able to look out into the world instead of staying self-centered the entire time. So the pressure for society to support moms and parents in this season of life is high. It's for the mom's life as well as our future generations that run this world, that live this world, that live this life. So perinatal mood and anxiety disorders can be classified as a disorder. Let me just speak to what disorder means. Disorder means anything that impacts your daily functioning, that you're not able to move through your day as planned because of. And when we have something that impacts our functioning, we call it disorder. Things are out of order, they're disorder. Disorder often has a negative connotation around it. And I don't really like the word disorder. I don't like to say that I had a disorder, but that's what we call it in the clinical realm. And that's how we can identify by the definition of disorder if it's impacting your daily functioning, if it's something that we clinically need to treat and support around. So, mood and anxiety struggles that happen in the pregnancy season of pregnancy, the year following childbirth, the time beyond childbirth as well, and that impact your daily functioning are what we're talking about. Now, your mood can be things like depression. It can be things like bipolar. Many of you have heard the word bipolar, these rapid fluctuations and highs and lows. It could also be these manic episodes that we feel, or we enter into these highs. We're not sleeping often, we're making impulsive decisions. And it can be that major depressive state where you're struggling to get out of bed. to get your clothes on, to take a shower, to put one foot in front of the other, to smile, to have energy for a conversation, to have energy to speak, to have energy to eat or to move or do anything. And then it can be psychosis. So psychosis is when we get tricked kind of by our brain. We begin to hear or see things that aren't there. So these can be hallucinations. They can be visual hallucinations. They can be auditory hallucinations. They can be tactile, feeling things that aren't there. But psychosis can also be paranoia. Feeling very paranoid and suspicious of the people around you, believing in something that's very off the wall or scary. Oftentimes people feel this paranoia about their baby's safety or about how people are treating them or their own safety. So these are all signs and symptoms of things that we can experience under the mood classification of perinatal mood and anxiety disorders. Now let's go to the classification of anxiety disorders. This can look like generalized anxiety. This can look like panic attacks where you feel like you can't breathe. You feel like you can't get enough air in, your heart is racing, you start sweating, you feel like you might die, you might pass out, you might die, you're not going to live past that moment. Anxiety can look like racing thoughts. It can look like intrusive thoughts, thoughts that you can't control, that you would never want to think coming into your brain and not being able to control them. These things can have obsessive compulsive tendencies. Not just your thoughts, but your behaviors can have obsessive compulsive tendencies. That's where the OCD component of the anxiety disorders comes into play. And then PTSD. PTSD is also a part of anxiety disorders. Many of us experience birth trauma. Many of us have our childhood traumas come up in motherhood. I like to believe as we mother our children, we have the opportunity to remother ourselves. And as we remother ourselves, we come head to head with traumas in our life, hurts, pains, moments that have shattered us, that we have an opportunity to re-heal and to nurture with this beautiful, great mother energy that we're tapping into as we're mothering our child. And this can be difficult. So having support navigating through the trauma, navigating through birth trauma, if that was your experience, navigating through trauma in those early days with your infant, ICU trauma, trauma feeding your child, trauma healing the wounds that you have. Maybe your trauma is related to not being able to hold your baby right away, or your baby being passed around and other people holding them, and you not being able to have time and space to hold them yourself. You get to define what trauma means. There's no definition in the world that gets to say if something's traumatic or not to you outside of your own processing beliefs and experiences of what was traumatic to you. So all of these components are things that we can experience in this postpartum season, in this perinatal season, I should say. And these are things that we need to be looking out for as we navigate through this journey of perinatal mental health, as we navigate through the journey of motherhood, period. Motherhood's complex. I was having a beautiful conversation today with one of my coaches, and we were talking about the dichotomy of the emotions that you can feel, especially when it comes to childbirth and the journey of motherhood. Because in motherhood, you feel the highest of highs and the lowest of lows simultaneously. In one breath, you are feeling immense joy and pride and just humbled by being alive and just in holding immense gratitude for your child and the life you get to live. And in the next breath, we may experience grief and loss and change that feels difficult for us to process. And we get to live with the dichotomy, the bigness, the difference of these two very polar opposite emotions all at the same time, all in the same breath. The beauty of life is getting to live the human experiences that we're blessed to experience, to live the wide range of emotions that come with being alive, because that means we are alive. But some of the hardships can feel very hard and isolating. And if you feel like you're struggling in motherhood, if you feel like your mental wellness is declining, if you identify with any of the perinatal mood and anxiety disorders I just talked about, just know there's help and you're not alone. Again, about 1 in 5 people who have given birth report experiencing these. Those are the ones who feel safe enough to report it. And about 1 in 10 partners who feel safe enough to report this report experiencing these struggles. You're not alone. But there is a real risk if you don't reach out for help when you need it. That risk is shining so bright in our country right now in a terrible way as maternal mortality rates rise, as moms die because of their mental health, because they're not reaching out for help, or help is not readily available, or help is not meeting them where they are at. And our little ones, their functioning, their ability to regulate their emotions, their resilience that they're building for the rest of their life, their mental health depends on us getting help. So I invite you, if you hear this and you resonate, reach out to me. I'll help. May it be with me or somebody else. There's a beautiful organization called Postpartum International, who I got certified through to support the perinatal mental health population. Because I am a licensed clinician, I could get certified in perinatal mental health to use in my practice and better serve this population. But you can also get certified in perinatal mental health as a peer support partner. You can also take the perinatal mental health courses just for your own education. Postpartum Support International has a directory. If you go to postpartum.net, you can open up the provider directory and find all the providers in your area who have been certified in perinatal mental health, who are able to support you therapeutically through this. If you don't have access to insurance or the means to pay a provider for support, they also have free support groups that you can go and check out. If you're local to Arizona and you're listening to this, hit me up. I can support you through therapy to guide you in healing in this season of life. And if you're not interested in traditional therapy, I can also support you through my coaching programs that utilize more of an integrative approach to support you in building community, strengthening your village, and navigating through these highs and lows of life by building the skills that you're missing to support you on that journey. While we're on this topic, I want to highlight the number one protective factor that can support your mental health. If you are reaching out for support, if you are ready to enroll in therapy, or you want to explore medication management to support you in this season of life, please, please, please take those steps. Let this be your call to pick up the phone and make the first call today. In addition to therapy and medication management, there's a host of other things that can support you in healing. But the number one thing is your community. Building and strengthening a community that you feel in alignment with, that you feel heard, understood, and held in, is your number one protective factor against mental health struggles in motherhood. Build your village. If you're in Arizona, Google 4th trimester of Arizona.org and come find a local village to get connected to. If you have access to the Peanut app on your phone, download the Peanut app and make some mom friends and find friends who get you, friends who are going to build you up and pull you out of this space, friends who will be real and honest with you but not wallow, friends who get it and will be transparent with you and are on a mission to feel better themselves as well by doing healthy things, going on stroller stride walks together, going to the park with your child, texting in the middle of the night when you're trying to nurse or you're having a hard moment, someone who's going to answer the phone and simply listen and not give advice unless you ask for it. Also, as you're building your community, learn how to advocate for what you need. Lean in and say, I'm looking for advice. Or I don't want any advice. I just want to be heard and listened to. I want to know I'm not alone. Is somebody else going through this right now? I can't process another morsel of advice. So much is coming into me right now. I just simply want to know I'm not alone. Ask for what you're needing so that people can show up for you in the ways that you need. And if you don't know what you need, put your hand to your heart. Close your eyes. One of my old mentors used to say, listen to the wound inside your heart. If you could hold a microphone up to that gaping wound, that part of you that is screaming out that you're needing something, hold a microphone up to it and ask, what do you need? What do you need to feel? What do you need to know? What do you need to see? What do you need to experience? What do you need to have? Answer that question. And then lean into your community and see how they show up for you. And if your community is not showing up for you, then you need a new one. And there's a lot of ways you can build community these days. You can build community through Postpartum International on their support groups. You can build community on the Peanut app. You can build community in Arizona through Fourth Trimester of Arizona. And you can build community here at One World Empowered in our Empowered Mamas Club. Now, I just gave you a host of options, many of them free or low cost, something that can apply and support anyone, anywhere. Sometimes community is somebody on the other side of the country who's willing to answer the phone in the middle of the night, even if you've never hugged them a day in your life. As we wrap up today, I just want to say, I see you. I see you educating yourself. I see you preparing for what's to come. I see you putting one foot in front of the other, doing the hard things every single day because you love your little one, because you want to show up as the best version possible for them, because you want to give them the future you dreamed of, because you want to live the life you dream of, because you want to see your baby grow and blossom through every stage of life. I see you, and you're doing a freaking good job, Mama. You're doing a good job. Feel free to reach out to me if you want to talk more, and I'll see you in our next episode of the Empower to Heal podcast as we dive in further around maternal mental health. Thank you. Are you on the brink of parenthood, eagerly anticipating the arrival of your little one? Take a proactive step towards preparing for the whirlwind journey ahead by joining our waitlist for the Empowered First Year Postpartum Prep course. Designed with your needs in mind, this online 4-week program offers a comprehensive blend of education, skill building, and community support to guide you through the demanding postpartum season. Don't navigate this transformative time alone. Click the link in the show notes below to join our next cohort and embark on your journey to parenthood with confidence. It has been an honor to share this space with you today on the Empower to Heal podcast, where we illuminate the strength you have within yourself to heal. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss our upcoming episodes, and leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform.